Hi, everybody. This is Jimmy DeYoung with Prophecy Today Video. Recently, a massive wall, a fortress wall, was found by the archaeologist in Jerusalem. This wall dating back 3,000 years ago to the times of King Solomon. Dr. Eilat Mazar was the lead archaeologist on the project. Dr. Mazar, actually, where was this wall found?
The city of David is located at the southern part of this eastern ridge of ancient Jerusalem. And the Ophel area where we excavated this fortification line is to the north of the city of David and to the south of the Temple Mount, as you described. It's an area in between these two places.
Now, what type of a wall? You said, I think I heard you just say a fortress wall. Was it a massive wall for defending the city of David actually at the time it was erected?
Yes, it is very massive. The thing is that the city of David was already fortified like 1,000 years before King David. Very magnificent and impressive fortifications. And as King David, and we think we have some very impressive remains from his period, started to break out of the ancient walls and, spread into the northern part of the city, he needed space, and there is no other space than the northern part of the ancient town. So this area is newly constructed, as the Bible says, by King Solomon. And the big question was, can we archaeologically trace these remains? It's always a big guess because such remains can be very easily dismantled, for all reasons. We were very lucky to trace remains from King David's time and also to the southern part of the Temple Mount, the fortification line that we can relate quite confidently to the time of King Solomon. Archaeologically speaking, we are talking about the 10th century. And this is very impressive by the meaning that such long effort, great effort, excavations. We're not the first at this place. Archaeologists before us traced some remains, and others. We came afterwards, and a few years ago, and now we concluded 3 more months and came to a very, I think, more than before, confident evidence that we're talking about a 10th century construction date for these remains.
Is this, Dr. Mazar, is this probably one of the most significant archaeological discoveries dating back to temple times, first temple times, and King Solomon, who not only built the wall, but built the temple according to the biblical record?
I think this is the only section now, the only place that we can, for the time being, point to King Solomon's construction. We don't have any other remains in Jerusalem that we can come as close as we are now to say that we're talking about King Solomon, one of King Solomon's construction enterprises. And I think this is it, because the pottery that dates the 10th century construction date is a later phase of the 10th century, and I think, there is nobody else at that time that we can suggest otherwise than King Solomon. And the Bible really describes so beautifully how he constructed the area, the newly constructions, the temple, his new palace, and the wall around these new construction. And probably, just to be very careful, because we just concluded excavations, we have to go very carefully and study everything we've got, and we've got a lot of material to study in detail, and I do want people to see, and therefore I do plan to dedicate my time to the preparations of the publication as soon as possible. But for the time being, knowing so well the archaeology of Jerusalem, I think that as for now, we can quite safely say that we're talking about that time and quite securely suggest King Solomon to be the candidate.
Dr. Eilat Mazar, the lead archaeologist on the project of the massive fortress wall found in Jerusalem dating back to the times of King Solomon. The wall gives evidence to the biblical account of King Solomon and his many building projects. 1 Kings chapter 6, verse 38, Dr. Mazar referred to this. Solomon built the temple, And then in 1 Kings chapter 7, verse 1, he built his own home as well. That was a massive structure, and the temple was one of the most majestic buildings in all of the world at that time in history. But the finding of this wall in Jerusalem giving evidence to the authenticity of the record found in the Bible. Now, why is that important? Well, the building of the temple that also King Solomon built, besides that massive wall, the building of the temple was the first installment of the Davidic covenant, 2 Samuel chapter 7. You might remember King David wanted to build the temple. He was not allowed to do that because of sin in his life, but the Lord gave him a promise, the Davidic covenant, that one of his sons, King Solomon, would build that temple, but also that one of his sons down through history in the lineage of King David, that would be the Messiah Jesus Christ, would return to Jerusalem, and he would build a temple in Jerusalem as well. That's Zechariah 6:12, where he would rule and reign not only in the Millennial Kingdom, but into eternity future as well. But before this happens, before Jesus Christ comes back and does build his temple, there will be a temple in the city of Jerusalem during the tribulation period. That's found in Daniel chapter 9, verse 27, Matthew 24:15, 2 Thessalonians 2:4, and Revelation chapter 11, verse 1. That's the tribulation temple, and everything has been prepared to build that temple before Jesus Christ comes back to build the temple promised in the Davidic covenant. You know what that indicates to me? Well, the rapture of the church has to happen before the temple is rebuilt in Jerusalem on the Temple Mount, that tribulation temple I'm talking about. That being the case, all the preparations to build that temple in place, that means the rapture must be close at hand. In fact, it could happen at any moment, maybe even today. And having said that, there's basically nothing left for me to say, except let's keep looking up until